Hello. I'll be talking about API design practices in Capital One and how these practices actually help API producing team become very successful. My name is Ado Trakic, and I am part of the Platform Services Center of Excellence team within Capital One. Before I talk about APIs, I'm going to cover a little bit information on Capital One digital transformation journey. And as a matter of fact, APIs play a critical role in this digital transformation. Capital One has gone a long way in terms of cloud migration. We have adopted many cloud technologies. We have undergone a data-driven digital transformation, effectively leveraging modern technologies, such as artificial intelligence, machine learning, for data insights that can help our customers better. We treat data as a product, and behind this, again, APIs power all this. Data delivery happens in real time for faster insights, and we always strive to have self-service capabilities with the built-in governance. We are not just a bank, we are using technology to change banking industry. As we sometimes say, we are banking on technology. Capital One has grown into one of the world's greatest software engineering companies. We have spent many years working to improve, create, and operate software, adopting latest and greatest trends in software development and infrastructure such as microservices, APIs, CI/CD pipelines, and DevOps. We have completely modernized all of our applications. We are cloud native, open source first, with API interfaces, microservices architecture, and automated testing and deployment. There is a big focus on standardization and automation for software development and deployment, so that developers are fully equipped to delivering very high value and ship high quality software products much faster. Our machine learning applications, APIs, and cloud products are preventing online fraud, empowering partners to innovate with us and help other businesses harness the power of the cloud. And nothing what was stated before would not happen without the APIs. It is already known that APIs are the glue that hold digital world together. We are trying really hard to focus on usabilities, to have as polished API governance as possible, and to be able to realize API governance at the large scale. There is a lots of moving pieces and collaboration with teams across enterprise. We are pushing for API-centric approach to software development, and this effort or journey never stops. It always improves and gets better. So that's behind the scenes, a high-level coverage of the Capital One API platform. I am the team member of Platform Services Center of Excellence. We are there to accelerate transformation, support development teams, work on tooling and automation, creating standards and guidelines for entire enterprise, providing training, adopting new technologies, doing a number of coaching for different lines of businesses, performing DX reviews, having community of our practice, and of course, facilitate compliance in a highly regulated industry. We have a very, I would say, sophisticated DX review process with a number of steps involved. I'm not going to talk exactly the details, but This is how we are able to achieve API governance at a large scale, because in our case, we are talking, I can freely say, a number of thousands of APIs and many, many software development teams. The stages of our DX review process are planning, design, and then we have a DX review and development of APIs, and then eventually production with some feedback loop built into this process and flexibility to go between the steps when appropriate. In the DX review, we are looking into APIs that come to us as a product. When appropriate, we have involvement of cyber, and we ensure a full compliance of any APIs that gets delivered. A huge emphasis is on API standards and practices, as mentioned before, with the thousands of team members and APIs. Unless we speak the same language and unless we achieve high level of usability, our API products are not going to be that usable. So there is a strive for them to be simple. We really have customer and developer advocacy, and APIs need to be discoverable for teams to be able to achieve what we are asking for. We have a number of planning resources, creating the designer tools and techniques, and of course, always have a number of API patterns available for the teams that can be used as the building blocks for APIs and API standards that anyone within Capital One has access to and needs to comply with before API is approved. And we work closely with the teams when it comes to meeting Capital One API standards. We also allow teams to contribute towards the standards, so it's not enforced, from one team, but this is a team effort, and we work on this together. At the end of the day, we would love to have a situation with increased speed for market to both API consumers and API producers. From a consumer standpoint, APIs need to be very simple and easy to use, very well documented, inspiring, and conveying very much a clear purpose and value. On an API producer side, we try to have as less coupling as possible. APIs must be cohesive and extensible, and communication and collaboration has to be there in place before we are able to serve our consumers better. In the heart of all of this, we have a DevExchange platform that's used internally. There are a number of components of it with an API lifecycle tool, discovery portals, and very sophisticated platinum level gateway for real-time traffic for APIs. And it's an in-house tool that's deployed on the network. On the lifecycle tool, we have a workflow that's built in, a flexible deployment. As mentioned before, Capital One is big on open source, so we use OpenAI specification, and the lifecycle tool has a built-in design and governance. For the portals, we have an internal and external portal, depending on the use case, with a very much access controls in place so that appropriate consumers have access to any APIs that they need. APIs are classified as a common and a private API. Common APIs are the ones that can be used by multiple teams that have actually reusability aspects. They go under like full DX review. For the private API are those with minimal integrations, kind of backend services, microservices, and so on, and they don't have as a full review as common APIs. As mentioned before, we have an internal and external portal, and also a partner that's accessible just to the vetted partners. What is important for us actually to actually start practicing design first, and API design first in particular. And I'm just going to quote Frank Lloyd Wright, that you can use an eraser on the drafting table or a sledgehammer on the construction site. So we try to actually start API first before any kind of implementation effort is started. We are promoting the following 5 guiding principles for the APIs. APIs should have a minimalist approach. I need to be intuitive, non-proprietary, usable, and standard compliant. Less is better. Limiting requests to data in response to just what's necessary. As I mentioned before, our consumers should not have an issue to use the APIs, so they need to be very much easy to understand and learn, and very well documented. APIs should not be proprietary. There is an emphasis of language used within the APIs with no abbreviations, jargon, references to systems, names, technologies, and so on. Of course, usability, as I mentioned before, is a huge part. The APIs need to keep an enterprise perspective. They need to be very, very easily understood by the end user, and always have that enterprise hat when designing APIs so that they are easily reused across different lines of business. What we also look at is compliance with standards. It has to be very much conforming with HTTP design standards, conforming with RESTful concept and standards for REST-based APIs, and conforming to published API standards and guidelines. Thank you so much for your time. Again, my name is Ado Trakic, and I can be reached at adotrakic@capitalone.com. Thank you. Bye-bye.